Welcome back, Bobcat fans, to another team season preview, and I'm delighted to be joined by head football coach DeLane Fitzgerald, where we'll be talking about the upcoming football season. Now, Coach, I know that your team has been ready to play for a long time. When you did the MEC preseason media day, you said that this team is just ready to be back and playing football. Is that kind of the case now, and what is the team sort of looking like so far?
Our coaches and players are excited. We've been in camp now for 3 weeks, and the guys are excited to line up against somebody in a different color uniform. You know, let's go beat on somebody from another institution of higher learning. And our guys are excited about that. There's only so much of practicing and lifting weights and living in the same dorm and all that with your teammates that you can do before you want to move on and do something else. As far as the way we're looking, Logan, we're as talented as we've ever been. Top to bottom, our roster is as talented as it's ever been. We have good players at every single position on offense. We have good players at every position on defense, and then we're talented at the specialist position. Our 100% of our 2021 is going to come down to how humble are we, and then how hungry are we. You know, are we mentally and physically prepared to line up on a Thursday night or Saturday whenever we're scheduled to play? Are we prepared to line up and play and execute and do the little things that make for a successful program? Are we prepared to do those for 3 straight hours? And if we are, we're going to have a great fall, and if we aren't, it'll be a long one.
And so you mentioned, all the work that goes into it, the lifting, the getting to know your new teammates, all the busy work that goes into it, which for a lot of last year in the spring and the fall, you didn't get to have all of that with the COVID protocols and everything that went on. Has it really, improved this team? Have the players really gotten used to having a full preseason camp where they can do all those little things, but where they didn't necessarily have all the time last year to get used to it?
Yeah, you brought up busy work. As a coaching staff, we focus on making sure our players don't have any busy work. So the coaches do the busy work, and then everything that we're having our players do, it matters. And you were talking about getting to know players all the way down to we're in camp together for over 2 weeks. We're in the same dorm, on the same floor. We're eating the same meals. We're lifting together. We're running together. We're practicing together. Everything's together. We take our older players and intentionally room them with the younger players in hopes that we're building camaraderie, and we're building a bond from the young to the new. With the COVID season, we've got some 5th and 6th year players. We've got more graduate school players than they've ever had in school history, and we want those guys that have been here 4, 5, 6 years. We want them to bond with the guys that have been here 4, 5, 6 days. So we've done some of that stuff, and we're happy with the way that it's going. Logan, we have good young men in this program. We have good people in this program that come from good parents, and our older players treat the younger players right. We think we've had a successful camp, and we're ready to go.
Absolutely. And so we can't really start this season without first talking about last year and a team that went 3-1, where you return a lot of those guys. But the early season win over Wheeling in the first home game, and then a very, very close one-possession loss to Notre Dame, which a very winnable game and 2 very good teams. And then big wins against UNC Pembroke and Alderson Broaddus. What did you learn about this team in those spring games that you can take into this season?
Yeah, and it doesn't count to our younger players, okay? But here's what we learned about our younger guys is how much they love football. When you're practicing in miserable weather in Frostburg, Maryland, the entire month of February, and there's no way to sugarcoat it. The weather's not great, but when you're playing in hard winter weather and we're practicing 5, 6 nights a week, and the guys are getting after each other and they're giving it all they have in 15 degrees, you learn how much they really like football. And then to be able to turn those bad weather practices in, we didn't have any bad weather games. We hit the middle of March. We got into our games middle of March through the middle of April, and the weather was nice, and our guys played well. It was actually the opposite. Practice in 15 degrees, then you play Pembroke in 75 degrees. That little contrast there. But you found out how much they love football and how important it was to them. We were really proud of our kids' stick-to-itiveness in practice and in the games last spring, and then proud of how they executed in the spring games.
And so we'll get into now the returners, and we mentioned a couple of them. But starting on the offense with the quarterback spot, and Graham Walker, who had a nice, really good spring for a freshman quarterback, coming in, learning a new offense, and getting everyone set, and just a very calming presence, which you don't see a whole lot for some freshmen, but now stepping up into his sophomore year with Kasey Barnes right behind him at the quarterback spot as a bit of a change of pace quarterback, which is kind of funny to say. It's usually with running backs. But Graham, certainly just a calm passer, can get on the move. He's a great athlete, and certainly someone that you're very confident behind to throw under center.
Yeah, Graham Walker won the job last spring, and it took him a couple of weeks. It took him a couple of weeks to kind of get in gear and to win the job, but he won the job throughout the spring last year. And people ask all the time, what are you looking for at this position? What are you looking for at that position? What are we looking for in a quarterback? We're looking for a winner. We're looking for a winner, and Graham did something in Virginia that hadn't been done before. They won 4 straight road games to win the state title, and they were underdogs in all four of the playoff games. But Graham's a winner, and Graham's father's a winner, and before him, Will Brunson was a winner, and Will's dad's a winner, and before him, Connor Cox is a winner, and his father's a winner, and before him, Kenny Edmonds is a winner, and his dad's a winner. So what do we do at Frostburg? We find winners that come from winners, and we put them at the quarterback position, and we win. But Graham's a good leader. Graham's a good quarterback. Graham's best football is in front of him. So his best leadership and his best football are all in front of him. And yes, he's a 20-year-old freshman, but he's still a freshman. So we have an opportunity each and every week while he's our quarterback to win football games, and that's very important when you're a football coach.
And he's got a really, really talented wide receiving core to throw to. Kyle Bielak kind of came out of the gate screaming last year with a couple of 100-yard games. Was a really great deep threat, but just a really good route runner as well. Malik Morris, who came on at the end of the season, and we know how talented he is. He gets a full season under his belt, and Lincoln Akubu, who also, those three really line up, and you can put them anywhere in the slot on the outside, and they can all just make plays whenever they want.
Yeah, they're all three good players, and you're right. It's a great problem to have when you have 3, 4, 5 wide receivers on your team that are all capable of being the best wide receiver in the conference. Hey, maybe Graham isn't as good as I think he is. Maybe I should name myself quarterback. I go out and look good on Thursday night now. Good players. Good players. Each and every week, Kyle's capable of changing a game. Each and every play, he's capable of changing a game. Malik Morris is capable of being the best football player on the field whenever he wants to. Malik may be the best special teams player in the conference. He may be the best Division II special teams player in the country. I don't know what he's up to now, but it's got to be more than a dozen block kicks in 3 years of playing here. But if he's in a game, he's probably going to get his hands on 1 or 2 throughout the game, which is good for us. And then Lincoln. Lincoln is capable each week of being the best football player when Lincoln is humble. When Lincoln is humble and he's playing selfless, he's capable of being the best player in the conference because Lincoln blocks. Lincoln runs great routes. Lincoln catches the football when it's thrown to him. Lincoln can play on special teams at any position you put him at, and he can be successful there. And then Lincoln can turn around and make plays on defense if we ever played him on defense. Just a really good football player. Shouldn't be lost in this to Christian Thornton. Nobody talks about Christian Thornton, and you look up in the stat sheet at the end of the game, and he's had 5 catches and a touchdown. So he does his job and plays his part. Good football player. And then we've added Zay Giles to that. And Zay Giles was the special teams player, special teams freshman of the year in the Lone Star Conference or something as a freshman at Lamar. He's a graduate transfer for us, caught 55 balls as a freshman in that conference. Might have been the Southland Conference. I have the wrong conference, Southland Conference at Lamar, but he caught 58 balls for 500 and some yards as a redshirt freshman down there. Going to have a great graduate season for us, and we're happy to have him. And then we have a bunch of younger receivers that are no slouches, but we're excited about that position.
And so also going to be catching some balls, but also really good in the blocking, your tight ends and Chandler Breeden and Will Hall, who each bring something different to the team, but certainly a very talented position on this team where, on the football field, sometimes the tight ends get overlooked, but they do so much for a team's success that you really have to be happy with the 2 guys and then the depth behind them as well to bring them in and be able to play them basically at any time that you need to.
Yeah, we like old school football here, and I don't know how. And us being how do you say this? Us being partial to tight ends and to fullbacks makes it easy for us to recruit really good tight ends and really good fullbacks. Chandler Breeden had a good camp and going to have a good senior season, and he's backed up closely by Will Hall. Will Hall's a good football player. He's got a lot. Will Hall's going to be better each and every week and each and every year he plays here. His best football's ahead of him. And then Brian Evans has been a how you say this? Brian Evans, we've been able to count on him for the last 2 or 3 years, and Brian does a nice job at the position. But we like big, strong tight ends that can block first and run routes and catch passes second, and we've done well there. And then they're very complement. Nate Forte at the fullback position, and Nate's a 3-year starter, and Nate's as good as any fullback we've ever coached here or ever had here. But Nate's going to make his blocks, and then when he's asked to run a route and catch a ball, he does that too.
Absolutely. One of the plays of the year last year when Nate scored his touchdown, and just a wonderful celebration to see him get kind of the credit that he's certainly earned. And he'll be blocking for one of the most diverse and well-ran units in the backfield, where you have Gavin Lavatte, who is a great guy to have back in that backfield, with Malcolm Facey and Josh Maxwell as well. And those three, kind of a three-headed monster, where, again, with all these other positions, you can throw any of them in, and they'll give you success at any moment on the field.
I don't know if I've ever heard the term great guy used before they said Gavin's name, but you did it. We're happy to have Gavin back. Happy to have him back. He set out last spring. Our offense suffered a little bit not having him, but we're happy to have him back. Josh Maxwell transferred in here in the spring, did a really nice job for us last spring in the 2 games that he played. And then Malcolm Facey's back, and Malcolm did a nice job. Malcolm's one of our team captains, one of our leaders. He's done a nice job. I get great pleasure in saying that it feels like Malcolm and Gavin have been here the entire time I've been here. So happy to have them around, and hey, wish I could keep them another 5 or 6 years.
And so also blocking for them, the offensive line, where you have a ton of depth in there, and a very young unit last year that gets another year under their belt. And I'm going to apologize right now if I forget anyone. We got Brandon Dillard, Andrew Griffith, Gottlieb Ayidze, Michael Hudrin, Greg Gaines, Kurt Hott, all of those guys, and the depth behind them as well. And they're just guys that love to play. They love the physical nature of the offensive line, and one of the best in the conference, certainly.
Yeah, capable. Capable. That they haven't had a great camp. That they haven't, and I can't put my finger on why, but they haven't been great in camp. But they're capable of being the best offensive line that we've ever had here. My hope is that they're waiting to turn it on game day and going to come out on game day and play really well. Brandon Dillard, pound for pound, football matters to Brandon, and winning and being successful and all matters to Brandon. But as good as any right tackle that I've ever coached, and going to be even better because he's now just a sophomore. But Brandon has now started 15 college games, and he's just a sophomore. Going to be a good player. Andrew Griffith, the strides that he's made in his 4 years after the COVID year and his 5 years here, the strides that he's made as a player are tremendous, and really happy. Have been, how do you say this, ecstatic to spend 4 or 5 years around Andrew and around his family, but we're happy to have him. Michael Hudrin's best football is in front of him, and Michael Hudrin's gotten better since last spring, so we're happy with that. And then we'll see what we get. We'll see what we get out of Greg Gaines and Gottlieb and Kurt Hott and Bennett Commander. And hopefully they're going to be better the rest of the fall than they've been so far.
And so that kind of sets up the offense, and certainly could be one of the best units in the MEC. And a unit that we know is going to be one of the best in the MEC is the defensive line, where you've got really some of the best in the country in Zach Strand, Carl Igwe, Luke Freeman on the defensive ends, Leonard Scott, Robert Horsey at the nose guard and defensive tackle positions. But that entire defensive line and the depth behind them is just something that, as a coach, you just got to love seeing those guys go out and compete. And like you said about some of the other guys, they just love football.
Yeah, Logan, your excitement is contagious, because your excitement gets me excited about them. I spent, like you said, I spend so much time on the paperwork and the busy work that I don't get a lot of time to smile and be excited about them. Zach Strand's like a son around here, and Zach Strand is the best defensive player in the conference, and capable of changing a game, on any given play or any given quarter, but a great football player. Carl Igwe's on the other side, and Carl's got NFL aspirations, and NFL teams looking at him, and he has the size and strength and the speed and all that to play at the next level. We'll see how Carl does this fall, but good football player. Closely backed up by Trevor Booker, and Trevor Booker on week in and week out could end up being a starter. He started some games in the spring, because there's some weeks when he's just the best player at practice, but a good football player. And then Luke Freeman is the junior of the 4 right there, and then Luke's going to play some defensive end and some 3-tech for us because of how big and strong he is and how well he rushes the passer. But we're excited about Luke this fall and next fall. And then you have Robert Horsey in there, and Robert's done a nice job. When Robert's not hanging out in in the training room. Robert's a good football player, but has done a good job off and on for us in his season and a half here. But we expect better things from Robert down the road. And then Leonard Scott's capable of being a good football player. We'll see how he does this fall. But Leonard and Robert are both very, very capable in the middle of our defense. Peyton Payne has come in here as a freshman, and Peyton's brother starts at D tackle at Nebraska. So, and his dad started at I'm gonna get it wrong, either Alabama A&M or Alabama State, but they come from a football family. But Peyton's come in here and done a nice job, and we're excited about what he's doing. Jacob Beiser, you can always count on Jacob, and I'll say this about him. I know when and where Jacob's going to be every day of the week and every hour of the day, and we know when we make a defensive call, we know exactly where Jacob's going to end up because he's accountable. You know, what are the two best abilities in life? Accountability and availability. Jacob's always available and always accountable. But we're excited about Jacob there at the 3 technique. And then at nose guard, we're going to rotate some guys behind Robert and see what we get there. But we're excited about our defensive line. Maybe not as excited as you are, but excited.
I get excited about every player on this team, and certainly looking forward to success. So right behind that defensive line in the linebacking core, in a unit that really stood out last year, where some other teams maybe had some question marks looking into our games of how good is that linebacking core going to be, and they really had a great spring with that amount of talent. You got Mike Morgan and Dylan Colpin, who's a team captain, coming back, and then you got Jake Brochard, who could have been the player of the year on the defense last year, given the talent of the defensive line, but Jake really came into his own and was very successful. And then you got depth behind them as well. Even the backups could come in and do a very good job, but that linebacker core is certainly a very solid unit.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head when you talked about depth there. Dylan Colpin's been named a captain, and he's a good leader, a starting middle linebacker. We are boosted by having Hans White join us back, and Hans wasn't able to play in the spring, and now Hans is back in school and Hans is playing, and not only did he show up, but he showed up in shape, so he's got the right physical and mental makeup to have a great fall. But Hans White's going to run around, make plays on special teams and defense, him and Dylan. At that outside linebacker position, Justin Houston, who's just a freshman, he's a redshirt freshman, but Justin's had a great camp, going to do some good things. We know we're going to get great things out of Jake Brochard. Trevor Craig was the runner-up Defensive Player of the Year in 2018, and I think this is just a sophomore now. That's what happens when you play really well, and then you redshirt, and then you have COVID, and then 2021, which seems like 10 years later, he's just now a sophomore, but Trevor Craig's going to be a player for us at that will position. And then Billy Walker. Billy Walker at any given point in time can be the best football player on the field. When he's focused and running around and putting licks on people, good football player. Great young man to have around. But yeah, depth, and they're coached well. Coach Wagner does a nice job coaching those linebackers.
And on top of that linebacking core, and then kind of the last unit of defense, but can also be the first unit of defense, especially when you're looking into passing, is the secondary, where you're bringing back a lot of talent. And again, some young players last year, but really came into their own and grew. You got Stacey Watts and Akayan Loney and Avery Thurman, and I'm forgetting someone else, but everyone in that defensive backfield, and as well he's bringing in some transfers to come in and provide competition for places, but another unit that's just solid, and you pretty much know what you're going to get out of them at any given moment. Obviously slip-ups can happen, but a very solid and put-together unit.
Yeah, it's Stacey, and I'll go through the list of the two deep there, but Stacey's starting his 25th game, so teams aren't going to show him anything he hadn't seen before. Mental and physical toughness are his fortes. He's going to bear down and be that guy that you want to be in a foxhole with on game day, but does a nice job. A good young man, handles his business correctly, and he's going to play well. That's why he started 25 straight games. Avery Thurman at the safety position, I think he started 26 straight games, but does a nice job there, and a really good football player. But he's been a starter since late in his freshman year. But he does some things, and when the rubber meets the road at the end of the football game, when you have to show some grittiness to be successful, Avery's who you want on your side. That does a really nice job. Zach Willett started all the games in the spring, and Zach's been hard to replace this camp. And we've got some talented, athletic young safeties, but they have not been able to displace him at that starting position, and he's done a nice job. And then the best DB of them all is probably Akayan Loney, but little number 2 over there and locking people down does a nice job. Pound for pound, best player in the conference. Pound for pound, he may be the best player in school history, but a good little football player. And you'll wake up and Akayan's going to block 5 or 6 kicks on special teams this year, and he's going to have 3 or 4 interceptions and another 10 or 12 PBUs, and he'll do a nice job there. And then we've got some young. Ibrahim Diallo's done a nice job in camp. Raymond Crump is a freshman that's going to be a star here in the future, and he's done a nice job in camp. And then we've had a couple of those young safeties that are pushing for playing time, and we're excited about them.
And so you mentioned the special teams there, and we'll get into the special teams. And one of my favorite players, one of your favorite players returning as the kicker, Dane Kuntz, who's just, he's a fun guy to be around. You love watching him play. He gives his all as a kicker, and really, in the spring was arguably the best kicker in the conference. For you look at his stats, and didn't miss a field goal, only missed one extra point attempt, and this is the first one of the season. But he just makes plays from the kicker position all over the field.
He makes me question how much the other coaches in the conference pay attention when they do the all-conference voting. Yeah, best special teams player in the conference last year, and when he got honorable mention, or he maybe didn't even get anything. But he missed the first kick of the spring, and then he went 4 straight games and didn't miss a kick, including he never missed a spot on kickoff. If we tell Dane, hey, kick a line drive and land it on the 15, the line drive hits somewhere near the 15. If we tell him kick the ball to the goal line as high as he can, he does that. Just makes his kicks and does a nice job. I talked about Akayan being pound for pound. Well, Dane probably give him a run for his money on pound for pound players. Dane Kuntz's father is a high school head coach in Westminster, Maryland, and so when we don't cover well on kickoff, Dane ends up making the tackle. I think he had 2 or 3 tackles last spring, but a good football player. Again, Dane time.
It's always Dane time here at Frostburg football. And so one player that actually isn't going to be returning and starting punter last year, Sean Bliss, who really a great servant to the program, did a great job in his punting, and he's going to be replaced by Chris Retzbach, who you have on the depth chart. What is Chris going to bring to the punting game in terms of being able to spot kicks, which you have to do in this conference with a lot of good returners, and getting some distance and moving the field position battle?
Yeah, Chris was a good high school kicker, and Chris has been with us for a year, so he understands all of our schemes. Chris will do a good job. Are we going to miss Sean? Yeah, we're going to miss Sean punting and holding. Sean and his family were fun to be around for a couple of years, so we'll miss him around here. Chris is going to be fine. Chris has enough talent and enough leg strength to do a really nice job, and you're right, we're going to move the kicks. So we're going to kick left, right, middle, and we're going to squib kick, and we're going to rugby kick, and we're going to do some of those things just to keep it interesting. But Chris will do a nice job of doing what we ask him to do.
Absolutely. And then getting into your returners, and you mentioned, some of the guys that are great on special teams, and Zay Giles and Max Davis going to be asked to return a lot of the kicks and the punts, but you have a lot of depth behind them as well, where you can put in a lot of guys say, hey, I just need a boost here. Can you go in and return? But Zay and Max definitely are going to be capable of giving you guys that good field position as well.
Yeah, my expectations that Zay Giles scores on a kickoff or a punt return this year, but he's special in the return game. And then Lincoln Akubu, who's scored a couple of times on punt returns already in his career, is returning punts for us. And then Max Davis also, who returned to punts in the spring. But they're all good players. The key for a punt returner in college football is that he doesn't put the ball on the deck, that you can count on him to be back there and catch the ball when it's kicked to him. We flip around and kick off return, and Evan Branch is a good one, and Zay Giles is a good one, and Lincoln's back there, and Max Davis is back there. When you're punt and kick returners all made the state finals in their respective states in the 100-meter dash, that's what you're looking for. Okay, can you catch the football and then hit it like it's a track meet?
Absolutely. And so those really the depth chart and the starters for both sides of the football, but want to get into some of the newcomers and the incoming freshmen and some of the transfers that you've brought in. Who are some of them that have kind of stood out at any position that you think this guy can be a really good impact player this year, and then going and looking for the future, they can also impact this program right from day one?
Yeah, there are a lot of them, and we're talented. We're talented up top, and we got 40 seniors, and then you flip it over, and we're now at 85. We've got 85 kids, got 4 years to play. So we're top heavy and bottom heavy there when you're talking about that. So a lot of talented young guys aren't going to make the trip when we leave here for Kentucky this week, and a lot of talented young guys aren't going to play this fall, but there's a couple may make an impact, and Peyton Payne on the defensive line has got a chance to be a good football player and going to get better the longer he's in our system. Raymond Crump's a smart young man, and he's a long corner that runs really, really well, and he's going to get some playing time for us and do some stuff as a freshman. Offensively, Jordan Marcucci may get some playing time at the wide receiver position, but again, we were talking, we like guys that have played a lot of sports. We like track guys around here. Jordan's entire life, he went football, basketball, track his whole life. But he's going to be a good football player. The longer he stays around, the better he's going to be. But there are a bunch of young players that have done some good things, and just got to wait their turn and got to get. They've got to line up and get 1% better each day over their whole freshman year. They're going to wake up as sophomores and be pretty good players. Cam Howard's done a nice job at the quarterback position. Andrew Freeberg's done a nice job at the offensive line position, but there's 4 or 5 other offensive linemen that have got a bright future. Jacob Moffitt at tight end has done a nice job there, and he's got a chance to be special going forward. There are a couple of defensive linemen. I'm going to leave out good young players in trying to name off everybody, but Jacob Rombach and Peyton Payne and some of those defensive linemen have a chance to be pretty good. We've got some young linebackers that have a chance to be good, and then I think if they'll stay the course and coach properly, I think our freshman corners, our freshman safeties have a chance to make the biggest impact down the road. And as much as our coaching staff's done a nice job of recruiting good young players at DB, the change in football culture to the spread and let's be no huddle and let's throw it on every down, it gives them a bigger opportunity day in and day out to make an impact.
And so we'll kind of get into that. For this season, you guys picked 3rd in the MEC behind Notre Dame and Charleston. What is your sort of highest expectation? What can this team achieve at their highest level if they do all the things that you ask of them and they compete every single week and really have that talent come to the forefront and challenge every single team that they play against? What is sort of their ceiling that they can get to?
We can win each week. The old Mike Leach goal, that's the goal. The goal is to win 1 game per week. I learned a long time ago now in college football. Now, if you win a game per week, they sign your contract again at the end of the year. You get to feed your family for another year. Everybody's happy. Everybody collects rings. Everybody makes the postseason, et cetera, et cetera. The goal is to win 1 game per week. That's always going to be our goal. We're not looking ahead to next week. We're not looking ahead to next month. We're just trying to win a game this week, and then we'll tee it up and try to win a game again next week.
All right, well, Coach, I want to thank you for coming on to talk to us. Obviously, a very busy morning for everyone, and like you said, typical Frostburg weather this morning when it's rainy and cloudy, but we certainly thank you for coming on to talk about your team and give us a season preview. We're certainly excited here on the Bobcat Sports Network to see you guys play.
Logan, it's a beautiful day here in town. It's always sunny and 75 in Frostburg. Go Bobcats.
Absolutely, and join us. We'll be continuing our season previews throughout this week. Thank you for tuning in, and go Bobcats.